Hello, everybody. So, welcome to another episode of the Divine Awakening series. And this is episode 11 now, which I'm really excited to keep having beautiful souls come on this channel just to share their journey, their divine awakenings, and how they have truly done, the inner work and some outer work, really, but mainly inner work to really step into their purpose. And we've got a beautiful soul today, Joss, who has really embodied the inner work and now is a reflection for others to be able to help them on their journey. And she's had a beautiful, realizations. I want to purposely say that a bit more along her journey that has really helped her use tools and techniques that is going to help others. So she's a life coach, she's trained in NLP, and she's really here to be in service to others and embody the truth and authenticity that really drives her forward. And so I will let Josh share her story. She's South African and was brought up on a sugarcane farm, which I'm so interested to hear all about. So thanks for coming on this channel, Josh, and sharing your journey. And so how was that, like, having a life on a sugarcane farm?
Sarah, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you and to share our insights and for others to really grasp what they are needing to hear at this moment in time. Um, so I am South African, as you mentioned. I had a wonderful childhood, very blessed to have been brought up on a sugarcane and macadamia nut farm in South Africa. And my purpose and discovering my authenticity or living from my true authentic self started at a really, really young age, of which I'm really grateful to have grasped from so young. Growing up on a sugarcane and macadamia nut farm comes with many pros and cons. The beauty of it is the immense freedom that it delights you with. The con to it is the safety aspect. So from a very young age, I grew up very quickly. The freedom gave me immense independence and confidence in establishing who I am, stepping into my power and my true self from young. And the safety aspect, I obviously had to learn all about like what crime is from really young and how to protect myself from a farming aspect from really young and to um, you know, have a deeper understanding about life and what farming presented to us in South Africa at that time. It teaches you a lot about yourself and it teaches you to step into, I want to say, your higher self so that you can connect on a level um, to like grasp what is needed at the time, especially around safety and security. So from really small, I was really grateful having this intuition from young, this connection of my intuition, a very strong pull towards my intuition from really young. And it, you know, I really understood that channeled voice in my head and the meaning for all of the words channeling through at those pivoting times in my life. And and then that's where the connection grew and the relationship grew within my higher self and connecting to my higher self and building that inner trust within my higher self. And it was also around the age of 6 where, going to school and all of that, I also had a learning disability. So it was also how to handle the classroom and manage this learning disability. I had what's called a auditory processing disorder in the classroom. So it was learning how to navigate that and not losing faith in who I am and maintaining the confidence and the leadership within myself, knowing that I am enough. Because when you get bullied in the classroom from a very young age, you lose all sense of self, you lose that ability of who you are. And so it's really important to navigate yourself from so young and understand your feelings, of which were being processed to me. And then going from the school grounds to this immense, massive farm land where you could just run freely with the farm animals around the sugarcane boosted my self-esteem and the independence within myself to be more and to become more. Also channeling through that intuition that was that's so strongly held within me, which taught me a lot about myself. And it was also through those early years and with the learning disability, I had an NLP practitioner that was for children with learning disabilities. So I learned certain tools from really young, how to navigate the learning disability, how to navigate how you feel about yourself. And it was through understanding all of those tools, I then implemented those tools later on into my life, plus having the deeply rooted spiritual connection that I developed from so young, which helped me a lot in my life.
Yeah, beautiful. And I think this is it, isn't it? It's the using, like, we're human, yet we are spiritual at the same time. And it's bringing that balance, isn't it? Where you can bring in that aspect, but bring in the other, because you can be too far into the spiritual and not far enough into like the practical side, and then using these techniques that life teaches you to be able to bring that balance and navigate life so you can fully step into what you're meant to be doing and be in the world but not of it, is what's coming to mind, right?
Yes.
And so, as a child you were like free, you had this independence, and I think for me that's what my soul craves, is freedom. And so how did that shift for you when you did go into school at the age of 6? Did that change how you felt about feeling free at all?
You feel restricted, and you feel, when you faced with like the learning disability or not feeling good enough, you don't feel yourself. So it pulls you away from that connection. It makes you feel so far from that freedom of who you are, that love of who you are, that it doesn't feel right. And it doesn't, it's just not who you are. So I had to be every single day, and I'll never forget this tool. Funny enough, you know, you would say like touch wood at the end of a sentence, like this will never happen to me, touch wood. So I used to, from that saying, I started with affirmations. It just automatically became affirmations. I am good enough, touch wood. They do love me, touch wood. And I would repeat that and repeat that and repeat that. And that's what built me up as a little kid, not really realizing it at the time. And it was through those little things that then guided me and helped me navigate in other areas of my life as well.
And I think that's amazing that you were doing things that were helping you create these belief systems that were going to help you later on in life with, I am good enough, touch wood. And anyone listening, you can take that now, that tool, and you start using that in your own life. So that's a golden nugget that I think can apply to everybody from now, because
Yeah.
I'll be definitely doing that. And I think we can forget, can't we, like we get into the story around I'm not good enough, and it's like, no, we're choosing to believe that, or we can change that narrative within an instant, and so that's a really great little nugget that you've brought through, and I'm sure there's going to be many more throughout this conversation. And so when you realize you had this auditory what is it, disorder, did they call it?
Auditory processing disorder.
Right.
So it's like I'm having a conversation with you, but then there's a whole lot of background noise going on. So it's like my mind is shifting to all of that noise. Even though I'm concentrating and concentrating on you, it's picking up all of that noise and it's not being interpreted in the brain like how it should. So it's like you're constantly concentrating on this conversation, and no matter how hard you concentrate, it's you're just picking up so much other noise, and it's really frustrating, and it can really make you feel so small. Um, so it was really about having to navigate that and work through the learning disability so that the background noise wouldn't affect me. And, so it was more about like outgrowing the learning disability of which I have and, persevering through it and building up those beliefs, like I'm good enough. There's nothing wrong with my intelligence or anything like that. It was just overcoming that learning disability with all of the right tools and beliefs.
And how is that like a disability like served you in a positive way, would you say, in later life and to obviously shape how you are today?
It's served me in various ways in terms of the fact from really young, I learned how to lip read. So I can lip read as a tool. And it's helped me pick up on conversation in other parts of the room as well, like just by having that awareness. And even though I'm concentrating over here, I can actually hear what's going on over there if I wanted to. So that's been a tool as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Because I mean, I believe that nothing happens in our lives by chance. There's always another yes and part of it. It's the polarity of why something's come into our lives to maybe learn something or
Yeah,
excel in a particular area.
yeah.
Um,
And
and
it's
so,
also helped me, sorry, connect
yeah.
with like my senses, like deepen the connection with all of my senses as well, because I've had to work so hard at this learning disability. It's helped me unlock that connection to all of our senses that in this modern world or 3D world, we don't really pay attention to, which has really, been a great help.
Yeah, brilliant. And you were talking earlier about your intuition. And so this is something that you have been able to strengthen and have that automatic connection as a child. And how has that developed and grown even um, now as the tools and techniques that you have obviously acquired throughout your journey, and how has that developed to help others over time? And I think you talked about earlier how you're able to really tune in and differentiate between that intuitive voice, and obviously we have another voice, don't we? How have you been able to really trust that part of you that it is your intuition and not the voice that's gonna nudge you in a different direction, shall we say?
I lead from my heart center. So it's having that powerful connection and trusting in my godly self. So when that voice channels through, I just know it's that solid truth and solid trust and belief that that this is the right direction to go, rather than that comforting ego voice perhaps that is coming through, or perhaps you're having doubts about. But then I will, like, if that happens, which doesn't usually happen because I'm constantly wanting to work through what's been channeled through, but if like a negative or a different kind of voice comes through, I ask, where's it coming from? What part of me is it coming from? Is it coming from a place of self doubt? Is it coming from an anxious side of me? If so, what is the anxiety around it? Um, and I will work through the fact that this actually doesn't feel good, and I know it doesn't feel good, but I'll still question, even though I know this is the heart center, this is my truth, this is where I know I need to go. So then I will flow in that direction, and the opportunities that are opening up in that way, and trusting what needs to come through. Because if we step outside of our heart center, or outside of our trust, our inner built-in trust, then we're not coming from a space of our godly self, and we're coming from an external side to us, which isn't really meant for us, or is meant for like some form of like ego comforting safety. There's neither right nor wrong, but it's really important to acknowledge this inner calling that's coming through, and why it's coming through, and question it as well, but question it in such a way of, what is this opening up for me? How can I use this to help others? What is the godly service around this that's coming down? That's how I look to it, as the intuition. And I trust it, and when it's that godly voice coming through, you can't help but trust it, because it's your truth, and it's from above.
Yeah, and you've said godly self a few times, so I just want to touch on that in terms of like, were you brought up religious to see God from something external, or how do you view that, as from a spiritual lens or more from a religious lens?
Sure. Yeah. So growing up on the sugarcane and macadamia nut farm, we were quite isolated. So we did have a church nearby. My religious background, or family religious background, is Methodist, but to be honest, we didn't really go to church. My family, all of us have all been very spiritual, and we've all just followed through on the spiritual path. So having this like spiritual connection from young, how when we're little, we'll have like an imaginary friend, and my imaginary friend is still with me today. My imaginary friend is my guide. His name is Pick. He's a pixie, and he's been with me since I was really, really small. And I've always had a very solid connection with him. And for me, um, when you want to talk about religious beliefs, or if you want to talk about like the Church of God or the home of God, it's in here. I don't need to go to a church. When I was 13 years old, I started bodyboarding. It's kind of like surfing, and that to me was my church, my godly space. I would go out to sea, and I'd sit on my board in between the waves, and even if the waves were completely flat, I would just sit there and meditate out at sea. And I had a lot of powerful godly connections by doing that from really young. And I knew that this connection was my home. This was my relationship with God. I didn't need a church to go to. And I've always held that relationship with God, through my meditations, whether I'm out at sea or sitting on the beach doing my meditation, or at home simply. That's my time with God.
Yeah, beautiful. I think, there's many ways in which people can see it from that lens of the spirituality, or from different religions, and a lot of people end up like coming full circle, don't they, and just realizing that it's all within themselves. We're all connected. And I just want to touch on the pixie, so your guide, and how did that come about? Was that like, do you see your guide, or do you hear it, or do you feel it, or do you sense it?
So when I was really young, like my entire life, I've always known what he looks like. And obviously, our guides have no gender, but they can show up to us in any form of a gender. So Pick comes through to me as a male pixie, and he when we are in conversation with each other, sometimes he will show himself, sometimes he doesn't, sometimes there's a voice, and sometimes I just feel him. For me, specifically, it's more about feeling the energy. It's the energy that's how I communicate. It doesn't really have to be English words all the time. It's the energy is the language for me, and it's the understanding. But I have had many times where he's like, I would be, let's say I'm going through something and I'm having a hard time, and I'll be like, Pick, show yourself. And I'll be in, let's say, in meditation, and I'll want to communicate, and he's just not coming through. And then I'll go and simply lie on the bed and have a book out in front of me. And then all of a sudden, I'm lifted out of my body and I'm in the clouds. And there I am with Pick, and his face is right there. And he's showing himself to me and then sharing with me what I need to hear at the time. Has been beautiful experiences that I'm truly grateful for. Um, but most of the time, it's through energy.
Yeah, yeah, that's how I feel it with my guides. It's like, yeah, I feel it more than I kind of see, and it's just a shift in that slight shift in that consciousness. It can start subtle, can't it? But I don't tend to see a lot, very rarely, but sometimes. But yeah, I find it interesting to see, because everybody's different, aren't they? They experience things very differently, um and so yeah, so it's fascinating, like, how you've really honed in on your intuition, and having that sense of freedom as a child. And so um have you always like known there is more than what's in your reality? Is that always just been a knowing for you, even going to school and other children probably not at the same level as you are in terms of their intuition?
I've always known and felt that there's always been more. Um, I when I say, like, I also, I had the learning disability. I also, like, I didn't like school. I didn't like to conform. I like to think outside the box. I'm very entrepreneurial, so I have that brain, I have that way of thinking. So I believe that there is more out there than what we get told in the 3D world. I'm very 5D, so I like to think in that way of, or be in that way of 5D rather than 3D. And that to me is really important, to focus on remaining in my heart center and focusing on my intuition, my higher self, my godly service, and living from that vibrational frequency.
Yeah, beautiful. And as we go on our journey, has there been anything specific that's happened in your life where this has been the key moment for your divine awakening, or has there been many, or is it because some people have this shift and it's like changes the life, where some is very subtle? Is there anything that stands out for you where it's like this was the moment where things changed?
Uh, There's been a couple. So I also knew from really young that I'm gay, and it was about navigating that gayness. Like, how do I come out? Especially growing up in a farming community, which is really traditional. How do I navigate coming out? And how will I be accepted, especially in the mindset of a farming community? And I feel all of us that are gay, it's like we have that extra step in, or we have a head start, I should say, in learning more about who we are from a young age, because we've had to, like, already come out the closet. as one of them. And I think by having that head start has also like helped me navigate my spiritual awakenings of like, what else is there for me? And when I was 20, I used to be a professional bodyboarder. And I was in a severe bodyboarding accident out at sea. I won't get into it, it's quite traumatic. And I lost feeling in my legs when I was out at sea. I had a cracked head open down to my skull. Basically, a 16-foot wave smacked me back against the reef, and I lost feeling in my legs and the cracked head. And I was in and out of consciousness in severe, heavy swell, like coming through. And I had um, a godly encounter while out at sea, where God came through to me while I was unconscious and just saying, there's more for you in this life. You need to pursue your godly service. You need to paddle. You need to paddle. You need to paddle. And while I was out at sea, I didn't have my legs, I only had my arms. And it was literally like shifting in and out of consciousness and just paddling and paddling. My life did depend on it, and I was paddling and paddling. And then after that, I was rescued, and then they sent me to the local hospital, and they had left me on the X-ray table, and that was where I regained my consciousness. But it was so fearful for me at that point because I didn't really know what was going on because I was in and out of this consciousness the entire time. Like, where was I? And I'm like lying on this very cold X-ray table. And I was trying to touch my legs with my fingers, and they had stripped me out of my wetsuit. And I was trying to touch my legs, but the lady was shouting at me and saying, "Don't move, don't move. We're X-raying you. Your body is completely injured. Don't move." And all I wanted to do was just touch my legs to see if, there's feeling in my legs. And I'd lost an immense amount of blood. And I remember I was shifting out of consciousness again. And as I was shifting out, I had another godly experience where God was like, "You're meant for more in this life. You need to serve in your godly purpose." So that's why purpose is a big deal for me. And anyway, I came round. And it was then after that accident, I did tons and tons of rehab. I can walk today. And then everything changed for me. I stopped the bodyboarding, I stopped competing, and I obviously, studied further in the life coaching. And at that time, I was a health coach, and my focus purely went on people living their truth and getting them to understand their godly purpose as well and to step into their heart center is really important for me so that they can have that godly connection and live from their truth. And, and that's what I do today.
Wow, amazing. I could really like feel the energy shift when you was talking about that. It was like, yeah, and when you heard that voice and when you came out of it, has there been this sense of, because this can happen for some people, where we were striving to get to that voice again, or do we just trust and know that God's always with us? Because sometimes like I want to have that experience again, and we're striving for that. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Obviously that connection is very important for me, but there has been moments when, you like just give me an answer and I'm like, seriously, I feel like I've reached his answering machine, like, come on, when are you going to phone me back? And then it will eventually come, but in its own timing. But I think that's when we've stepped out of our heart center and we ourselves are not connected. So we really have to ground ourselves to step into that light, step into that frequency so that we can channel and receive what we are needing to hear. Um, because I feel when something has occurred in my life and I'm just out of sync, then that is frustrating. And you're just like, oh, come on, I usually channel so good. Like, and then I have to like just be patient, reground, take it all in again, and trust the answer will come when I am ready. I will receive it.
Yeah, yeah, it's just truly surrendering, isn't it? And just trusting again, back to that trust. And so when you came out and you had this guidance, like, you're meant for more, like step into your godly service, which I love that. Did you just know, right, I'm going to be a coach? How did that come about?
When I was little, I've always wanted to be a coach, so it's always been there. But from my high school years and being an athlete, obviously the whole sport science side and being a sports conditioning trainer and a personal trainer and an athlete at the time, that took preference. But the life coach was always within me. And it like I just knew that the time will come when that's meant to step forward. And so even after the accident, I had to go through a lot of, the physical rehab itself, but then also I had to then focus on my own PTSD of that accident as well. So it was having to reprogram and rewire me. So that's also like learning within itself, which is then teaching me for, when practicing on clients and so on. So everything I feel that I have encountered has always been a teaching, leading me up into the coaching world to fully understand, all walks of life and what they have experienced, and to truly grasp the different versions of traumas that you get out there, and how to help others with certain traumas and to get them out of that state of trauma into discovering who they are and stepping into their authenticity, and then becoming more of themselves, and then discovering that their purpose, and then how do they fulfill that purpose, so it's quite a journey to take them on. And it's I must say, what I've gone through, all of the traumas that I have faced, has taught me to really understand everyone and to assist them in their life.
Yeah, because it's kind of like we have to go through it first to really experience it. We have to experience, the hardship to then apply it to ourselves.
Mm,
We can keep consuming and reading books and taking in knowledge, but it means nothing if we've not actually physically gone through something to be able to have that experiential, just knowing an embodiment of that, so we can truly help people.
yeah.
And what would you say that has been like the techniques and tools that you've really used on yourself that's been transformational and really allowed you to have these aha moments that you then now use on your clients?
So a lot of the tools will have been like a various amount of NLP techniques. So obviously the belief breaking, the past timeline technique, which I know is very difficult, but it's very evident, and then obviously the future timeline technique, and stepping into, there's also a technique with the three doors. And so if you battling to make a decision, stepping into all, like opening up all three doors and visualizing yourself in each of those three things, but which one feels more heart centered to you, and then following through with that door has also been another one. And I find what also helped me, another trauma that I experienced was So back in South Africa, I owned a gym, and I used to write positive. So basically, in the gym, I incorporated life coaching with the personal training and the group training. And on the whiteboard, I would always write captivating quotes or something that I channeled, I would then put on the board. And during those years, so I came out the closet when I was 21. But when I was 26, I was badly sexually assaulted by a man I knew very well and trusted. So that tore me apart. And just it really broke me, and I spiraled down a deep black dark hole, and I didn't want to know anyone, and I couldn't even hug. I went from a loving, confident individual to not wanting to talk to anyone or be around anyone. And you're running a gym and you've got lots of people coming in and out, and so that was a very challenging time for me. And it was doing all of the techniques on myself, but at the same time, um, I would write a lot on the whiteboard, and then I would talk about what I've written on the whiteboard to all of the clients that were in the gym, like during the group training. And while I would talk to them, I was actually just coaching myself, like indirectly, I was coaching myself. And that was a very powerful tool that helped me get over the sexual assault that occurred, and helped me to step back into my truth again, because I was so far out of my truth. And I also didn't want to have a spiritual connection with God. I was so pulled away, but that spiritual connection was my everything, and it was so torn.
Mm.
And it was about um, finding my way back to my spiritual connection, which was so validating and so important for me, because it's my everything.
Yeah, I'm sorry you went through that, and I hope the person obviously, got the justice, justice was served, and all of that. But again, it's like you going through the darkness and then coming back and finding the light again. And
Mm,
even though it's sometimes hard when we can, you can say, fall off track, but it's having that faith that God never left us. God will never leave
yeah.
us. Like we choose to leave God because of whatever circumstances happen. We can lose a little bit of faith, and sometimes I think Yeshua talks about all we need is the faith of a mustard size of a mustard seed. And
Yeah.
then and I'm not even religious, but Yeshua is really coming strong in my life at the moment, which has been interesting because I'm not religious. I've never read the Bible, I don't go to church, anything like that. But it's been beautiful to really get deeper into his teachings and why he came here and what he embodies really, which is the love and for us and for God as well.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so you shifted from being a health coach and moved into more of the lifestyle coaching, and was that just a natural transition?
Yeah, it was natural. Yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose that's just, we start at a point and then it just grows, doesn't it? Because that's
Mm,
exactly what's happening for me now. It's, the health and wellness nutrition, but it's just it starts to expand the more we expand, right? Because
yes.
we can hold more, and our life experiences will shape us to then be able to support other people. And so if you was to for those who are watching that really want to understand, like, how can they really step into their purpose and have a successful, whether it's coaching, whether it's being in service to others, how can they really do that and be in the 3D and actually earn an income and be successful, but being staying in their heart at the same time?
Yeah. So I think it's, finding a quiet space and sitting down and really reflecting on who you are as a person, and the person that you would like to grow into becoming. And then within the gap between the two, from there, that's where you discover and understand more about who you are from within. And then it's at that pivoting moment from within where you uncover more of what this purpose may be. And then it's about realigning your values to suit both you and to suit your purpose. And then every single day, leading from those values and leading from those intentions so that you can follow through on this path that's opening up in front of you. And also listening to the guidance that is coming through. Because when no matter how far along we are in our purpose, whether we're at the beginning or in the middle or we're quite far along, we're always going to have lessons, and our lesson is going to get harder and harder for us because the purpose is getting greater and greater. But it doesn't mean that we can't do that lesson. Of course, we can do that lesson. That's why it's come forward to us. But the meaning behind the purpose is so vital and so pivoting that you have to take those steps. But in order to take those steps, you have to lead with a solid intention, a godly intention, and godly values that suit you. And also, like changing up your lifestyle to accommodate, to step into this purpose.
Yeah, and it's taking that aligned action, would you
Mm.
say, is really key, because it can be that, we can be like, oh, okay, well, I'm connected to source and God, and I've got my higher self, and higher self is the one that's really driving my life. And so I'm going to sit back and rest on my laurels and not really actually do. But it's a combination of both, right? And so
Mm.
how can you really like discern whether it's go time or not go time, and just trusting that because sometimes like you can be too much in the doing and not enough in the being, or you can be too much in the being and not in the doing. So how can you get that balance?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think it's about understanding where you are within your journey and how you're prioritizing yourself. So where you need to spend more time, perhaps, I suppose when you're in the being and you're doing a lot of the being, it's because a lot of the doing hasn't come through yet, like a lot of like knowing of what to do or the confidence um, or the trust hasn't come through as yet to do the doing, but it will come through when you are ready and when you're, fully present within yourself. You'll just naturally start doing it, or it will naturally just start flowing towards you into doing it.
Yeah, and I think that's it, isn't it? When you're in your head, you can miss the golden nuggets that are coming through, or the signs, and you get
Yeah.
confused and the clarity's not there. And it's just, as long as you're staying in alignment with what you know to be true for you, and taking the steps daily, then things will show up in divine timing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, again, it's just trusting all of that. And so, for those that are watching, what would you say has been like, I suppose, the key, like, learning or teaching from life itself for you that has really helped you stay in alignment and stay focused on your purpose so you can truly be in service to others?
What's worked for me is trusting my own gut and own intuition and following through on my word, my commitment. So, my values in life, of which I've always lived by, is honesty to self, loyalty to what I believe in, and tenacious and determination has always led me in every area of my life. And that's like what I put my mind to, I follow through in, and I will know if something's not right for me or if something's not meant for me, then I just won't do it, or I just wouldn't do it from the start. Um, but I'll follow through on what I know is in flow and where I need to go.
Yeah, beautiful. And for those that are watching, maybe they're realizing or starting to wake up spiritually, and they're realizing there's more to them, and there's more for them here, and there's more for them to do, based on this intuition. So it's like, I'm meant for more. I know I'm meant for more. And so they're starting to play around and explore that, but they don't know where to start, or they might be like, oh, I feel like, might be like, for example, oh, I'm really into breath work, or they've been doing breath work themselves, now they want to be a breath work teacher or breath work coach or whatever it might be, or coaching. What would you say to those that are feeling the call to take action, but are just not sure how, and how they can take that step and where to go?
Sure. The best thing to do is to, sit in that stillness once again and start journaling. I feel that journaling has always helped me. I love writing personally. And a lot of people may feel blocked in order of like, well, how do I journal? Or what do I say? Or what do I write about? And it's the same thing of feeling I've got this calling, but I'm just feeling so confused. I just don't know what it means or where to go or how to go about it. And the answer will always come to you when you ask for it and when you're ready to receive it. If you're not ready to receive it, it's going to be there, but you just haven't opened the door to it yet. And you have to make that commitment within yourself. I'm ready to receive. I'm ready to receive in the potential of my purpose. I'm ready to step into the power and understanding of this purpose and how it's going to unfold for me.
Yeah, beautiful. I think it's just asking, isn't it? Asking, you will receive. That's one of the kings they say, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it was Esther Hicks. There's a book on that. And so obviously health has been quite a focus for you. Obviously you're a nutritionist as well. And how has that played, really focusing on your health, wellness, and nutrition? How has that served you in staying aligned and open in terms of your channeling?
So from really young, we were raised on the farm, and we had our own veggie garden. So, we consumed a lot of organic veggies and, grass-fed meat and so on. So nutrition has played a vital role from since I was small. So it's always been within me, like when it comes to eating and how important nutrition is. And then obviously the athlete days and the nutritionalist and personal training, sports conditioning days, it's always played a vital role to me. And you think clearly when you're eating correctly. You just there's this greater awareness. Things are just clear, you know, and you feel like really well in your body, like really healthy. And that's where things just flow naturally. You're not
Yeah.
blocked.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my channeling abilities got activated when I was on a 40-day juice fast. So, yeah, and I know what it feels like well, I didn't know I was full of brain fog until I cleared that. And then I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God, like life can be this clear. I wasn't aware there was brain fog in the first place. So this is why I'm passionate with wanting to support people clear that and into health and wellness as well. And so,
Mm,
yeah, it is really important. It's the foundations, I feel, for a
yeah.
lot of it. It's important.
Eating well brings about clarity, which is really good. And then having that clarity helps us more with our authenticity, which then helps us more with our godly service.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And everything we need here has been provided for us from the mother, Mother Earth. It's all it's all here. So we don't need to be creating or consuming the processed foods. And I know they're very alluring and there's temptations there, and I've fallen trapped to it, and then I go back, and then but yeah, we at least we know what's right for us, and our body knows what's right for us. So it's following that intuition for sure.
And our body will always tell us when it doesn't like certain foods.
Yeah, exactly. We just need to listen to it.
Yeah.
Okay, this has been really great. It's been really amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your journey, and yeah, I mean, connecting in with that godly self is really why we're all really here, remembering who we are, and then stepping into the truest us basically. And so, have you got any parting words that you would like to share right now? There's a lot happening on the planet. Obviously, there's a shift in the consciousness where it's raising up into moving into that 5D consciousness. And you did mention briefly about the 5D. And so, is there any parting words you would like to leave just to really bring some hope right now? Because there's a lot happening in the external, in the 3D. And so there could be a lot of fear coming out. So anything you can share on that?
I'd like to share with everyone that in life there's no failure and only feedback. And it's really important to trust the process of our journey and to trust our inner light and to always go within, no matter what part of our life that we're in, if we're experiencing difficulty or if we're in a state of abundance, regardless of where we are in life, the most important thing is to lead from within so that we can understand ourselves on a deeper level, gain that clarity and that purpose so that we can thrive in our godly selves in this world.
Yeah, beautiful. And it's been shown, more people that are out of their head and into their heart can impact hundreds of thousands of people, the more that are in that space energetically and vibrationally. So yeah, beautiful. And where can people find you if they would like to, work with you, or any programs or websites you can share?
So they can find me on Instagram and Facebook as well as LinkedIn, and I also have a website. So my Instagram is my main platform. So it's narc.healing.confidence.coach. And my website is www.jocelynjoanlifestylecoach.com. Those are the two main ones that I would recommend.
Great. And I'll link all of that below as well. So yeah, people can reach
Thank
out if
you.
they need to. But this has been amazing. Thank you so much. And for those watching, there's some real golden nuggets there. You can start, saying those affirmations and say touch wood, and the 3-door technique. And I'm sure there's things online that you can check with NLP that can help you shift those beliefs as well, and with making decisions in your life. So thanks, Jocelyn, for coming on today. And yeah, thanks everybody. Please do like, subscribe and comment. And yeah, see you on the next video. Have a blessed day.
Thank you, Sarah.